You have big dreams of losing weight and creating a healthy, joyful life. But you find yourself craving sugar, caught up in what the scale says, and diet hopping. Dieting is the old way of losing weight. And the good news is I'm going to give you a new way of eating so you can ditch diets for good and build a healthy relationship with real food. My name is Meghan Olson, certified nutrition practitioner, creator of Skinny Fitalicious, and your host of the Dish on Diets show.
I know I will never get sucked. Like, I just feel so confident I'll never get sucked into like a yo-yo diet. Like that type of marketing doesn't get me anymore. Like it has zero effect on me. The wellness like fads or schemes like doesn't really have an effect on me because you get so confident in your own habits and knowing that what you're doing is the right course for you. Mm-hmm. And I think that freedom and that confidence and that peace is like truly worth dealing with the fear on the onset of doing something different. It was great working with you, Meghan, and thank you for everything.
Hello, friends. Today, my client Meghan is on the podcast. She came to work with me in 2024 after years of chronic dieting. Her latest diet was Optavia. She was starving, and there were a lot of red flags for her. Primarily, she didn't know how she was going to sustain anything she lost eating all their packaged foods. So she finally got herself off Optavia. They wouldn't even let her exercise, and she thought that was a little weird. She got herself off Optavia, started exercising again, was trying to count her calories in MyFitnessPal, but she was starving all the time. Her hunger and cravings were out of control. Her energy was really low. She felt like she needed to sleep every afternoon. And she finally reached out to me in 2024, and we got her on a good path of sustainable and healthy habits, and she lost 20 pounds. I can't wait for you to hear Meghan's story today because she has lots to share with you. Hey, Meghan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey. Excited to be here.
It's good to have you here. I'm excited for you to share your story with everybody today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm 39. I just turned 39 this year. I currently work in advertising sales, which is busy and somewhat can be kind of stressful, high pace, fast pace. I'm also a mom to two boys. My youngest is 7 and my oldest is 10. And they're very into baseball. My oldest just made like a travel baseball team. So we are very busy and going to be really busy going into the spring as well. So yeah, when I'm not like going in between like work and kids activities, I have really tried this year to like carve out time for my personal hobbies. My husband was really pushing me to just like do things just for fun. And so two hobbies I've taken up this past year was sewing. So I'm in a sewing class every week. And then I also do ice skating lessons. My oldest son does hockey and he's in the rink next to me while I'm doing my lessons. So it's kind of like our thing on Sundays. We do our ice skating together for an hour and then we go out to dinner. So yeah. So it's been really nice to kind of have older kids and be able to like do stuff with them versus just like caretaking. So really enjoying this like stage for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, needless to say, you are a busy person. You've got a lot going on, a lot that you're juggling, a busy job, a career, and plus all your personal things and taking care of your family, right? And you also had some weight loss goals, which led us to working together, and which is why you're here today. So why don't you just share some background about your weight loss journey? Like, how long were you trying to lose weight, and just kind of go through that for us?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like my weight, I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate. My weight has been like a worry and like I've been preoccupied with it. I would say like the majority of my life. I've either been thinking about like I've either been worried about my weight, been trying to lose weight, or been trying to maintain a low weight that I achieved through somewhat unhealthy, unsustainable means. So I think it's been a huge theme of my life. One of my earliest memories is being like 7 or 8 at the pediatrician's office and being nervous to step on the scale stepping on the scale and my mom being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're this high."
Wow.
Yeah. So she really struggled with her weight too, and like had a lot of mental struggles with it. And I mean, it was also like the 90s. We grew up heavily in like 90s diet culture for sure. Um, Another memory I have a twin sister, and I remember like she and I would go with my mom to jazzercise when we were like 10, and they made like a special exception, I think, for us, because like I think you had to be like a teenager to do the class, but my mom asked if we could go with her. And we always enjoyed exercise, so I feel like that wasn't like a negative memory, but I just distinctly remember being the only kid at the jazzercise class, and then afterwards feeling like, okay, well, now I don't need to feel guilty for what I'm going to have for dinner.
Mm.
So it wasn't like a negative memory in and of itself, but obviously there were some issues and with food connected to all those early experiences.
Mm.
Um, yeah, like I said, we were raised in 90s diet culture. We watched our mom struggle with her weight pretty much her whole life. She did a lot of like yo-yo dieting. She did like the cabbage soup diet, Atkins. She did Weight Watchers, I believe. Probably a few more. She kind of would cycle back and forth between low carb and not. And then we always had like those like Snackwell cookies in the house. Like I distinctly remember those green boxes and like feeling like those were foods that we could have without feeling like guilty.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I think I tried my first like official diet in high school. I try to do like low carb, similar to what my mom was doing. That felt really unsustainable, especially because I was an athlete. So I played tennis. I played varsity tennis all 4 years of high school. And like that just felt really unsustainable. So I didn't last long on that. Because I mean, you do need carbs in order to work out. I've
Yeah,
since
turns
learned
out you do. Yep.
it's really hard to work out without eating any carbs.
Yep.
So yeah, so that didn't last long. What else? In my 20s, I feel like I cycled between Weight Watchers and Whole30. So Whole30 was like a big thing. Weight Watchers actually helped me lose a lot of weight before my wedding, but then like and my husband also did it and he lost a lot of weight, but neither one of us were able to really sustain the results much after the wedding. And so within a year, I had put the weight back on. Um, I think
Mm.
fast forward to like my 30s, my neighbor and I, like 5 years ago, we did like a 5-day fasting diet. Um, that was horrible.
Yeah.
She and I both thought we were going to die by the end of the week.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah, so that was like never again will I do that. And so yeah, I think about 3 years ago, I remember going in for my yearly physical, and I knew I was like my weight was pretty high. I could feel it. And I was nervous to step on the scale. And sure enough, it was like the highest it has been since like ever. So I was feeling really, really frustrated, really like defeated. And I decided to reach out to my friend who had been advertising on social media about Optavia. And that was, I think, probably the most significant weight loss experience I've had, because I was able to lose like the most amount of weight that I've ever been able to lose with any type of diet, even with Weight Watchers or Whole30. But it wasn't sustainable. I mean, that type of stuff, like more, I think I was on it for about 4 months and I lost like 25 pounds.
Mm.
But like as I was like kind of rounding out month 4, I had this realization like, how am I actually going to sustain this? And my husband, like I remember my husband saying to me, "So are you just going to eat packaged food for the rest of your life? Like are we going to be like paying, $500 a month for you to eat this? Like what is the plan here?" And I immediately was like, "No, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life." I was living almost entirely on their processed, pre-packaged, what they call fuelings. So I wasn't really able to eat real food. It was also really hard because they put you in such a low calorie deficit,
Mm.
because they don't really do any screening of like your health markers beforehand. So I think my theory is they put everybody super low so they can do a one size fits all so that everybody can get results and
And it
get results
works.
fast.
Hmm.
Yeah. And not only that, like, so you can get results really fast so that you're motivated to stick with it.
Yep.
Um,
And keep
but
paying them $500 a month.
Exactly, exactly. But it was, I don't know, from the start, it was tough because not only was the food really expensive, all packaged, not very good in terms of taste wise, you also couldn't exercise. And I've like always exercised. Exercise has been a huge part of my life. All growing up, like I said, I've always been an athlete. As an adult, I've always exercised. So that cutting that out was really not, I felt like was not a good indication that this was going to be a lifelong thing for me. In fact, I halfway through I raised my calories and kind of did my own Optavia plan because I just felt at that point there's no way I can go 2 more months without exercising. That was the longest I'd ever gone truly without exercising, and I didn't feel good, like physically, but also mental health wise. It just didn't feel good to cut that out of my life.
Did you feel like Optavia was a healthy approach?
No, not at all. In fact, when I started exercising, I was really surprised like how weak I felt.
Mm.
I think when we first met, I was like, yeah, I'm like skinny fat because I lost a lot of muscle. I felt like even in that 4 month time period, I still felt weak. I definitely couldn't lift as much. I couldn't run as far and I couldn't run as fast. So I immediately saw it. Um, and I think that's kind of when I was like, yeah, there has to be something else here. There has to be another way forward because this is not good for me. It's also not something I want to model for my boys in terms of health and food. And I also like want to just go out to dinner as a normal person and eat normal food with my family and friends, which is really impossible on Optavia unless you are really, really careful on how you do the maintenance, which the maintenance is really vague.
Mm.
And really it's about tracking and like eliminating food groups from my understanding of it at least, and really tracking still in a calorie deficit for a long period of time.
Oh, wow.
So they make it so it's impossible to kind of do maintenance on your own so that you kind of come back and continue to buy the food and stay with them, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah. So you mean, needless to say, you've had your full gamut of doing different diets throughout your life.
yeah.
And I think you know, you did Weight Watchers, you did the fasting, you did the Optavia, a few other things sprinkled in there. When you did some of these things, did you ever walk into them thinking, yeah, this makes total sense and this is totally a normal way to lose weight? Like, did you ever question going into it that, maybe it doesn't seem reasonable?
It's an interesting question. I think my mindset was always, this is unreasonable, but in order to lose weight, I have to do unreasonable, painful things.
Ah,
So that's kind of
hmm.
how I rationalized and didn't question it. Like losing weight was always about sacrifice, um, being uncomfortable, uh, like not really, because I had convinced myself that the normal way I live isn't working. So I have to be extreme. I have to do extreme things in order to get results.
Wow. What do you
Yeah.
think about that now that you look back at that mentality?
Yeah. I think it's crazy to think. I think I talked about this a lot in our last few sessions. It's like, it was crazy to think that I did it, that I just like kind of, you become so brainwashed. And I think at that point, I was so motivated by the number on the scale. And I still care about the number on the scale, and I still want to maintain my results that I've gotten over the last year. But um, it's not to the point where I am willing to do really crazy, unhealthy things that actually make me feel worse just to see a lower number.
Hmm.
So, which was not always the case. I think in that regard, I've really grown about not putting so much emphasis on the number of the scale, but really on my overall health and seeing, weight loss, but also weight maintenance and a healthy lifestyle as part of like your full life, as part of something that should fit into your life and let you feel normal and let you feel better versus
Mm.
constantly always making you feel worse.
Yeah, which is what a lot of these diets do. Like you were describing, you felt worse, going
Right.
back to exercise after not exercising, right? And that's not really adding value to your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So you did all these things and then eventually somehow you found me. I don't remember how you found me, but you probably told me at one point, but somehow you found me and we decided to work together. And I guess what led you to work with me?
So I was thinking about this the other day, and it's interesting because I'm pretty sure, Megan, that I had a consult with you and you told me I wasn't going to be a good candidate at the time.
Mm.
And then I was like, okay, but I think I was doing Optavia then, or maybe just coming off of it. And then I really couldn't. I think about a month later, I scheduled another consult with you. I think that's how it went. And I was like, okay, I'm done with Optavia. I'm not going to do this anymore. But I also cannot sustain the results. Like I had already started gaining, right? It's like the second you stop eating that food, you're gaining.
Yep.
Um, so I was really nervous and anxious about that. And at that point, you and I think had a longer conversation and you decided to take me on as a client. And I think that's how we started working together.
Hmm. I remember there was a lot of anxiety and you also were very hungry. There was a
Yeah,
lot of red flags. Your energy was really bad. You're really hungry. You're trying to calorie count. There was just a lot of things that were not going well for you when we first
right.
started, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, so we started working together. You were struggling with a lot of these things. As I recall, you were even calorie counting, maybe around the 1,400 calories or something like that. And then you were doing Orange Theory.
Yeah, I was doing Orange Theory 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week. I was trying to really restrict myself to 1,400 calories because that's the only way I knew how to maintain my weight or thought that I could maintain my weight at that level. Because before getting off Optavia, I did calculate with my Fitness Pal, like how many calories am I eating? And it was about like 1,200 at that time. And I was like, okay, well, I'll bump it up to 1,400,
Mm,
thinking I'm not going to gain that much weight, but keeping that fort. I mean, I was like white knuckling it through that 1,400. It was just not working. Um, and I, of course, was experiencing like extreme cravings, especially for sugar in the afternoons, which was really hard to battle. And then also just general hunger throughout the day. Like I just felt like I was never actually full.
yeah. And you were tired a lot, as I
Yeah, I was
recall.
really tired, especially in the afternoons. Like I think I told you, like my eyes would start to feel really like hazy, fuzzy. It was really hard to concentrate.
Mm,
Um, yeah, so I definitely was feeling the effects of the being in too low of a deficit for too long, and then also trying to work out and do like hit workouts on top of all that, which
hmm.
my body was like, this is not what's going to work.
Yeah, it was too much strain on your body. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is why we did not put you right into a calorie deficit or try to focus on weight loss initially when we started working together, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about upping my calories, kind of doing a reset, figuring out where I was at maintenance, where I was at a slight surplus. And then I was there for, was it like 6 months or I
Hmm.
was in that? And then um,
Yep.
I did feel better. Of course, I did gain weight, but I tried to kind of work through that. But I did also gain a lot of muscle, which
Hmm.
felt good. Um, and then we also worked on just my mindset around exercise, because I think that was like a huge theme of our work together, which exercise had always been in the past, like something that I enjoyed doing, but there was always a goal, right? The goal was to lose weight or to maintain my weight. It wasn't, or, I mean, of course, for stress management, that too. But the types of workouts that I always chose I think I convinced myself I only like doing these types of workouts. But I think after like a year and a half now, I've realized I actually like doing a lot of different things for exercise that I think I never allowed myself to do in the past because it wasn't the biggest bang for my buck, right? It wasn't like a huge calorie burn.
Mm.
Um, and taking away the orange theory, I think had a huge effect. I don't know. I think I'm really sensitive, especially as I get older, to HIIT workouts. Even now, I mean, I tested, I did like a 2 mile run the other day. And again, we talked about that spike of like cravings and wanting sugar in the afternoon. And it was right there, even though I had like, a good amount of protein, I'd eaten healthy all day. It still came back.
Hmm.
So I still do like HIIT, but I don't make that the focus of every time I work out. I have to burn as many calories as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that I have to burn calories because
Yeah.
it's always about the scale and losing weight,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that defines how we move our bodies and exercise.
Right. And I think another learning we talked a lot about, I had the mindset before working with you, oh, I can just go to an Orange Theory class, kill myself in the class, and then sit all day.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, 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 that's not how this works. Like you actually, if you're going to do Orange Theory, you do need to still get like your steps,
Hmm.
right? And so that was a big thing. I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? Like, I don't have time to do Orange Theory every day and my steps. So I think that like kind of organically pushed me to just focus on steps for a while. And then I noticed with walking, I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was like a stress reliever. It was a nice break up during my day. I can do it at work. We have walking treadmills, so it fit really well into my schedule. And I wasn't experiencing those big peaks of cravings, especially for sugar. Like it was a lot easier to maintain where I needed to be calorie wise with doing the walking versus
Hmm.
the HIIT.
Yeah.
So that really motivated me. And that's definitely a habit that I feel like is now just part of my life. Like every day I'm getting 8,000 to 10,000 steps in addition to whatever else I'm doing, whether it be Pilates or strength training or even ice skating. I still make sure that I get my steps in.
And it took you some time to figure out how to get your steps because you weren't really
Right.
getting them before. You were
No.
exercising, which was fantastic, but it did take you some time to kind of figure out, okay, how do I make this work in my life?
Hmm.
Right? Yeah. So a lot of different things. We didn't put you on a diet right away. We got your calories up because your body was screaming that there was definitely a problem with the cravings and the low energy and, dragging through the day, right? So we got your calories up. Were you surprised at what your real maintenance was?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised and also very nervous to eat at that level for a long time. In fact, it took me a lot of like mental mindset work to push myself to that level of eating and to really focus on protein first. And I feel like we didn't do a whole lot with like the meal like prep and planning because I feel like I knew a lot about that. I already know a lot about that, but it was definitely a shift to eat that much and to be okay with where the scale was as a result of eating at that level.
Your scale weight went up, but your inches went down as we were
Right.
bringing your calories up, which was very interesting because, well, this is what we call body recompositioning, right? So you're gaining muscle, some lean muscle tissue, losing a little bit of fat while you're at maintenance. This can happen for some people, and that was happening for you, but your scale weight was going up, which can really like make some people go crazy. So we did have to like talk through a lot of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, what do you think helped you like get out of like all of the other diet stuff that you did before and start doing some of these things?
Well, I think when we started working together, I mean, I was at the point where I just felt like, okay, I cannot do this the rest of my life. I'm, in my mid 30s, approach like late 30s now. And like, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. This can't be the answer. And I think working with you was like interesting and engaging because it didn't feel like I was doing another diet. It felt like I was learning some skills.
Hmm.
And right away, those skills that I was putting into practice were helping me feel better. And I kind of, as you say, like you got to trust the process. I kind of just had to push myself to trust the process. And I think at one point you were like, whatever weight you gain, whatever fat you gain in this period, we can take off in the deficit. So that's going to come off in the deficit, but we got to get through this period so your body responds well to the next deficit that we do, which it did. I was surprised at how well and how different going into a deficit felt from Optavia, right? Going into a deficit with you wasn't actually, I mean, it's challenging. Of course, it's challenging to be, that diligent about tracking what you're eating and that sort of thing, because I'm really short. So I have to be, like you were like, you have to be really on it because you're not, in order to see results. But it wasn't like I was dying like I was in Optavia, which I felt like on certain days.
You were eating at like 1,700 calories and losing fat in your deficit, as I recall, something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Whereas Optavia, you were at 1,200, which was putting
Yeah.
you in almost 1,000 calorie deficit. It's no wonder you were white knuckling it.
Yeah. And also, we had a lot of conversation around like exercise in the deficit, which really helped and was a new learning for me, where you're like, the deficit is like your calories are first, and then the exercise you do should be in service, or, should not force you to be out of that deficit. So that made a lot of sense to me. And I was like, okay, the exercise I do is not going to be about anymore losing weight and burning as many calories as possible. My goal then became an exercise to A, do something that was enjoyable, and B, make sure that whatever I did, it was going to allow me to not get those craving spikes in the afternoon and not make me so hungry where I was going to have a really hard time staying in the deficit, especially in the evenings. So that actually helped me, again, go back to walking, and walking was like so good for me. I feel like just to fall back on that. And it's like, okay, well, I didn't have a huge workout today, but I did get my steps and I did stay within my calorie deficit. So today is a success.
Yeah.
Um,
And did you have to
yes.
be like rigid and perfect to get results?
No, I mean, I did have to be like consistent. I think that's a big thing. You do have to be consistent. You do have to track. I did, because I wasn't trying to lose like a ton of weight. So I didn't have like a big, like I don't know,
Margin of error, yeah.
margin of error. But I mean, I did fluctuate. I mean, some days I would try to do 1,600, and then other days I'm like, I'm going to have this cookie. I'm going to go to 1,800 or 1,900.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the next day go back to, what the 1,700 was. So
Yep.
I think you also said, like, it's not about the day to day, it's about averages.
Yep.
Like your body cares about averages, which was a big learning, and also really helped me not to freak out every single day. And when I got on the scale 3 days a week, it's about the average. And if I had the data to back up what I had done, I trusted that my data was right, then I didn't have to freak out or be worried about gaining weight, because it could be just water weight. It could be I had an extra hard workout. But as long as the trend line was going in the right direction, I knew that I was having success.
Yep. Without being perfect.
Right.
It's more like you said, it was more about the consistency and then looking at like the averages and the big picture, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, did you give anything up? Like, were we cutting all kinds of food groups out and, trying to eat like perfectly clean eaters?
No, I mean, in the past, that was always like something I relied on, especially with Whole30, like how many things can I cut out? And with working with you, instead of focusing on giving things up, we really focused on adding things in, like adding in more protein. I tried to shoot for like a vegetable at every meal. That was like a really easy thing to remember. Like, oh, okay, where's my protein? Where's my veggie? As I'm like making my plate, right?
Mm.
And then even planning for, we walked through like how to plan for like a treat every day, so that I got used to, no, I'm going to eat a cookie. I'm going to eat candy. I'm going to eat, I don't know, ice cream at my son's birthday party. So it was about planning for those things and learning how to mindfully eat those things without doing this whole like restriction binge cycle that I felt like I was always in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how did that feel to no longer do the restrict and binge? Was it a little bit weird at first for you to try to learn how to do that?
Yeah, because I think I convinced myself that that was like the way I controlled where I was at, right? It's like, well, oh my gosh, like if I don't have this control, like the train's gonna go off the tracks and I'm gonna gain like 50 pounds and then what, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do. Um, but once I started trusting it and feeling the effects on my body, like feeling better, having more energy, feeling again the inches go down, like I was gaining weight. I was like, yeah, my weight's going up, but like my pants are still fitting. Like, how are my pants still fitting? How are they even a little bit loose? um that really helped to create some peace with it and to get the anxiety out, because if you're sticking with it, you're seeing results within the first 3 weeks. You're seeing which way you're kind of going here, and I think that was really encouraging and gave me the peace to kind of keep going and seeing and like letting go of the restriction and the binge type like ideology and cutting out foods and
Hmm.
I know doing stupid stuff like using like not using soy sauce for like Whole 30, like just
Like
dumb
that's going
stuff.
to help.
I know, like it was like dumb stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
my husband's the cook in our family and he's like he's always been so accommodating with like my diets and all that, but he's like, I am not using stupid ingredients for any of these recipes anymore. Like soy sauce is not bad for you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. This is like, but I mean that's what these diets do is, right? They get you so afraid of foods and they really instill this fear
Yeah.
when really it's not really any food. It's how much you're taking in and the comp and like how much of each, macro nutrient you're eating at each meal
Hmm.
versus just like, one cookie here or there using soy sauce in a recipe. Those things don't move the needle. Um,
Yeah. Soy sauce is not going to be the thing that gets you to drop 10 pounds.
exactly.
But we don't think logically, like to your point
Right.
earlier, like
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
go into these things or you hear these hooks on social media, you're like just so desperate, right? You're like, okay, well, that must just be what it takes,
Right. It's
right?
funny now and I laugh now, but back then it was it I would have just taken, and I did just take the knowledge as or take the facts, quote unquote, as they were given, Oh, can't eat soy sauce. Okay. Can't eat cheese or dairy. Okay. Like convincing myself I had a dairy allergy. I don't have a dairy allergy. I've never had a dairy allergy. But these approaches also, I think, um affect like the way that you think about your own body and your limitations and put these like fake limits on yourself to kind of keep you within the certain lane.
Mhm. Yeah, you stay stuck in the cycle of being a dieter. Like dieting actually
Yeah.
becomes part of like your lifestyle in a way,
Hmm.
even though you don't really realize it, you just think that's normal. That's what all women do. We're always trying to lose weight. We're always on a diet every January coming out of the holidays.
Yeah, and to deal with the anxiety, it's kind of like for me, it was like an antidote to dealing with the anxiety of
Hmm.
living my life. Oh, the holidays are coming. I'm going to live my life, probably eat more sugar than I'm used to. But in order to not feel guilty, I'm going to plan out my diet for January so that I don't feel guilty in December.
Yeah, go
Right?
off the rails in December, like you were telling me earlier.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. So, do you feel like what you're doing now is helping you like live your normal life, like going out to dinner and, traveling and vacations? Like, are you able to take some of the skills we worked on and apply them in your normal life?
Yeah, I think that's been really exciting to be able to do and to have the confidence now to do where I go out to dinner, I'm not anxious. Like I know like I'm going to have what I want to have, but I also know how to balance it the right way. And I think one of the biggest things we worked on too, I was traveling a lot for work during our time together and we really talked a lot about how I eat when I'm traveling, and it really doesn't need to be that complicated. You kind of get into this mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm traveling, so I have to eat at a restaurant for every single meal. And in fact, you don't. It's in fact for me, the way I was traveling for work and how frequent it was a lot easier for me to actually just go to a grocery store, get a hotel with a little fridge there and actually get some healthier protein snacks. Or I would always have my breakfast from the grocery store versus going to a restaurant. And that actually made it a lot easier. So I think having those tools where in life where it's actually a lot less complicated than the way I used to think about it.
I know. Before you were like trying to take your fuelings with you everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Come to find out, it can be a lot easier. Who would have
Yeah,
thought?
yeah, exactly. And you can actually feel full instead of, trying to be in a crazy deficit, eating crazy packaged foods for every single meal when you can get a lot better results just learning kind of, I mean, a system and a way of eating, not for weight loss specifically always, but also just the best way to fuel your body. I think that was a mind shift too, is like, how am I eating to like have energy to get through my day so I'm not tired in the afternoon? That's kind of where I still do it. It's a habit now where every breakfast I'm like, how am I getting 30 grams of protein? 20 at a minimum if I'm like in a crunch, but I'm always thinking, how am I getting protein today? How am I going to get that every meal? How am I getting a vegetable or a fruit at every meal? So it's really now I feel like my mind goes to the health components versus this is a bad food or this is a good food or this is a
Mm.
diet food or I shouldn't have that. Um, yeah, it was funny. My coworker said the other day, I think I was eating a cookie and she's like, "Are you eating a cookie? I've never seen you eat anything like bad." And I was like, "Yeah, I eat candy all the time. Like I eat candy all the time and I mean, she's like, "Why are you eating a cookie?" And I was like, because I want a cookie. And it was very simple. Like it was like, I want a cookie. And it sounded good. And now I like, we have food provided for us at work. And so it's like if I see the cookies, it's not like I'm like, oh gosh, I'm debating now, like in my mind and doing this mental gymnastics about am I gonna have the cookie? I don't know. I feel guilty. Should I have it? And instead, it's more like, does it look good? And if I want it, I'll have it. And if it's not, like, there's going to be other cookies available at other points in my life. And I don't feel like just because it's there, I have to have it. But also, I balance that way. If it doesn't sound really good, or if I'm really thinking I'm going to enjoy eating it, I just pass on it. And then we move on.
Yeah, it's a different mentality versus I'm good or bad and I feel guilty and I have to eat them all right now and, then restrict and tell myself I shouldn't eat that. It's a different mentality.
Yeah. And because I don't have, because I think I've done a lot of work to work through the good food versus bad food, I actually feel that I don't, my cravings are less and I don't often, I think I eat a lot less sweets and processed foods because it's like, I can have it if I want. It's always available. And that's what I tell myself. I'm like, you can have it if you want. This food is always available. Like I could go to the gas station right now and get a bag of chips, right? I'm an adult. I can eat whatever I want. But I mean, it's not about that anymore. It's more about, do I actually want it? Am I going to enjoy eating it? And how am I going to feel after I eat it? Those are kind of the things I think through. And
Did you
sometimes it's a yes, I want it. Like, and other times it's no, I can live without.
did you think that way before we started working together about those foods?
No, I think before it was like say no as much as you can until you can't say no anymore and then binge and then go back to saying no.
Mm.
So it was constantly that. It was like, no, can't eat that, can't eat that. Okay, well, tonight I'm going to like binge on candy or sweets. And tomorrow I'm going to go back to saying no every single time
Mm.
versus
So,
really evaluating, do I want it or not?
and I can have it anytime I want it. It's always going to be available.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, you think about it logically, it's like that stuff is always available. I mean, where I often struggle to find stuff is like fruits, vegetables, like those things are not always available, right? But at work, I mean, you just have to like look to your left and right and their sweets are everywhere. So there's not a scarcity thing happening here. And I had to tell my brain that like if in an hour you decide you want it, you can go literally find something else and get it. And then you can move on. So that was also a big learning.
It was a big progress point for you. What were some of the other things? I mean, are there other things that you think were really important that were lessons or things that you just made progress with during our time together?
Um, yeah, I think like in general, I used to think weight loss was really just about willpower and eating as little as possible. Um, and now it's more, I know that it's more about consistency over perfection, fueling my body. So, and also fueling my body the right way to reach like my longevity goals, and also to keep up with my kids.
Mm.
So, like the mindset shift is, I used to be like, I need to be on a diet because I have to lose weight versus I need to eat these foods or I should eat these foods because I want to take care of myself. I want to have the right energy. I want to have a good workout today. I want to be able to lift a little bit more. Um, and then, like I said, I try to not think about food. And even the way I talk about it in front of my kids, as good or bad, like I told my son the other day, I'm like, cookies are always going to be around. You can have one. And then tomorrow, if we decide that we're going to have more, we can have another one. But you don't need to sit, like, we're not going to sit and like eat four cookies. Like, you can just have one and then we're going to move on. Um, and there's no judgment tied to it. It's just like we're going to have a moment to enjoy the cookie and then we're going to move on and then we're going to eat a meal that's going to fuel our bodies so that we have energy and so that you can actually do well at practice. And I try to like connect food instead of connecting it to morality anymore. I try to connect it to like the way you feel, your energy, and like your athletic performance, because that my kids are both into sports. So that really, I think, speaks to them and makes sense to all of us.
Yeah. I love all of those things. One thing I thought was really interesting is you didn't say anything about the scale being the most important thing you achieved and all of the weight loss you achieved.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the scale, it's like I even now I kind of have I have a love-hate relationship with it. Before it used to like determine everything, right? And now it's like I know the range that I feel best in. So I have a range versus a number one. So that's changed. And number two, the scale is so finicky. Like I know like when it's going to be up. If I had a hard workout, I know for sure I can predict it's going to be up. Um and or it's going to be down if I had a dinner that was like more protein or lighter. So I don't know. I think I just really focus on the data and looking to see my trends, looking to see where the last week was. I don't keep my averages or like track as much anymore, but in my mind, I like know now where I need to be and where I'm feeling good.
Hmm.
Um, and I have lost a good amount of weight and I feel really good at where I'm at. And most importantly, I feel like it's sustainable. I feel like I can keep doing these lessons. Of course, I think there'll be times where maybe I need to go in another deficit at some point, but I'm not like planning that. I'm just kind of enjoying where I'm at and the progress that I've made.
Yeah. How much did you lose? I was going through my notes and I don't remember offhand what you lost. Not that the scale means everything, but I know you went down at least a pant size or two. I don't
Yeah,
remember
I
with the
think that's
scale
around
though.
20 pounds, 20, 25 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most importantly, you have a good body composition is the difference. You don't have that skinny fat look anymore.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
I
that's a
mean,
difficult thing to understand when you're kind of tied up in the scale, you know?
mhm. Yeah. And I think I think it used to be where the only um, victory I ever like counted on, or which the one that held the most weight was always what the scale said. And now I think about it more holistically. The scale matters. Like I definitely take it as a piece of data.
Hmm.
But I'm not like I'm also looking at other things. I'm also like thinking about my energy. I just got all my labs done, like all my blood work done, and I was like very happy with
Good.
where everything was, like very happy. I mean, I'm almost 40 and I told my sister, she's a nurse practitioner, and I sent her my labs and she's like, wow, you're doing great. And I think my labs are better now than they were when I was in my 20s.
Wow. It's
Yeah. Which
amazing.
is, I mean, that stuff matters because that's like, that's really hard to keep, right? Like that's really hard to work.
Right.
This is versus that stays like the scale. I mean, tomorrow I could be up 2 pounds, but my cholesterol isn't going to be like significantly different, you know. And it's also like a good marker. My iron was a little bit low, so I'm working on that and like thinking about how do I want to eat for my iron to like improve that versus everything's always about the weight,
Yeah.
right? Um, but yeah, I feel really good where I'm at. I think I have a good handle on how I want to keep going again for to maintain my weight because I do like being at this weight. I do feel really good, but also to maintain my health overall.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is like, it shows so much tremendous progress in you compared to where you were when you were doing Optavia when we first started working together, because your perspective on all of this is just so different than it was before.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think I told you in one of our last sessions, like I cannot believe I did Optavia. Like I cannot like now, now I'm like, oh my gosh, like if somebody came up to me and was like spend this amount of money to eat packaged foods, like I'd be like, are you crazy?
Right?
And wait, I have to do this for every meal and I can't exercise at all. Like I just, but again, you become so wrapped up in the manipulation of diets, right? And what people are peddling out there.
Mm,
Um, that you just don't, you learn to not even question it because it's always like, you get in the mindset of, well, what I'm doing isn't right. So they must have the answer.
yeah.
And you put all your trust in these people, many of whom are not medical professionals, are not experts in any way, but they can promise you fast results. But those fast results come at a price because I think I also told you like the anxiety I had after that 4 month of Aptavia, knowing that there was no way I could maintain this. Like that's not worth that will never be worth it, right? Like it's not that weight loss. Yeah, it was exciting, but when you get to the realization and people stop commenting on your weight or congratulating you, you're like, okay, well, how do I maintain this? Because I'm going to go up and then people are going to notice that my weight's going up and then I'm going to feel like a failure. And then I'm
Mhm.
going to be right back to where I'm at. Now, and then what diet am I going to do next? And then you start spiraling and it's just not worth the anxiety anymore because none of that stuff is sustainable. And I think the answer is actually a lot easier. I mean, in terms of thinking through, it takes consistency is hard, right? And I
Yep.
did have to be very diligent to lose the weight I lost.
Hmm.
But the answer is like not a bunch of like potions and like maybe waving a magic wand or eating a special food. It's really about like being and maintaining calorie deficit.
Hmm.
I mean, it's as simple as that. Like people
And
don't
understanding calorie deficit, like you didn't,
exactly.
you were kind of off, like you were trying to eat 1,400 calories, but it was way too steep of a deficit still for you. So compliance is just never going to be good when you're in
Right.
a really steep deficit like that. And you just didn't understand your maintenance. You didn't understand the walking. You didn't understand the averages, right? There was a lot of stuff we kind of had to work on. And I think that's probably the key. Like you kind of understood the calories, you understood how to track in MyFitnessPal, but there were a
Mhm.
lot of gaps in there that we had to work
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And I think being okay with the slower weight loss
That's hard.
um, is hard because it's so exciting to step on the scale and see that you're down 3 pounds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's way more exciting and people notice faster and people comment on it. But all of that stuff is so fleeting and it feels really bad when you get to the end of the line with that and you have nowhere to go and you're just stuck. And you feel like once again, you know where you're headed and it's not a place you want to go, but you have no control over staying where you're at, like maintaining that progress or maintaining that weight loss. So going slow, sticking to the habits, I mean, and actually building habits that are about health versus weight loss, I think were really key.
Do you think that when we first met in our first consultation, if I said to you, we need to stop focusing so much on weight loss and we need to stop cutting out things and we need to eat way more food to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight and we can't look at food as good or bad, do you think you would have believed me?
No, I mean, I didn't believe you at the beginning, Megan. I was like, wait, no, 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 no. I'm not eating
Nobody ever
17.
believes me.
I'm like, I'm not eating. I mean, in my highest calorie phase, I mean, I was close to like 2,000 calories, sometimes 2,100. And I was like, this is nuts. This is not going to go well. This is going to be a disaster.
And you were still losing inches. That was the crazy
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think what you said was correct. When we went into the deficit, how are we doing it not for fast results, but doing it for consistency?
Yeah.
That was a new learning, is where can I be most consistent?
Hmm.
Because I mean, yeah, I could be back at 1,400, but I don't want to white knuckle this, and I'm not going to maintain that. I'm not going to be able to do that for 6 months. I mean, I was in my deficit for a long time,
Yeah.
7, 8 months. But it felt doable because it was like 17-ish, 1,700.
And you weren't
Uh,
starving, right?
right. And I knew how to form my meals at that point,
Hmm.
where I knew how to get full.
Hmm.
And even in
And you
that
still
calorie,
ate cookies and
yeah,
stuff, right? You just budgeted for it.
yeah. And I cut the hit way down. I remember that was something I fought you on too, was I did
Yeah.
not want to give up Orange
I said
Theory.
it's going to be harder.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, you can try doing Orange Theory 3 days a week, but I'm going to tell you that you're going to every day, you're going to get out of that deficit and you're going to be frustrated. And now, Megan, I don't even think I've told you this, but I do not do Orange Theory anymore.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Not
yeah,
that we're against Orange Theory. We're
no, I'm
against
not
all
against Orange
exercise,
Theory.
right?
This is not this is not a cut down on Orange Theory, but it just, I really came to the realization. You said to me at one point, instead of looking at what everybody else is doing, if you're seeing that something isn't working for you, that's what matters. And it's like
Yeah.
that type of exercise, I'm like, it's not working for me anymore. I don't know if it's getting older. I don't know if it's just like my body doesn't do well with it, but I just do way better with strength training, walking, and I added in Pilates 2 days a week. And
There you
I
go.
mean, and again, I feel good. I feel I'm still working out. I still get a good workout, but I don't have to be soaked in sweat in order to feel like I got a good workout in. That also changed. My mindset on that has also changed. Because when I first came to you, I was like, well, working out is like being out of breath, being covered in sweat, walking, not being able to like walk when you like leave the studio. And I think I had to change my mindset around that too. Um,
Yeah. You did. That was definitely a process for you of learning to accept is,
yeah.
and you were very willing to listen to what I was, saying, hey, we might want to pay attention to what happens to your hunger and your calories if you keep doing that. And so you were willing, but you learned as you went through the process that, hey, probably not going to work for me.
Yeah, and I remember telling you, I actually think I fought you on the Orange Theory more than I fought you on the calorie food stuff. But I remember telling you, well, there's older people at Orange Theory, older than me, who run faster than me and who I know go 4 or 5 days a week. And and I was like, they seem like they're in really good shape. And you were like, great for them. But like that's not working for you. Like
It's not
and
working
I
for
was like,
you.
right. I was like, and at that moment, I stepped back and I was like, yeah, I don't base my life on what works for other people and automatically prescribe that for myself. Why am I doing that with exercise?
Yeah.
But I felt like I was so mad that this wasn't working. I was so mad that other people could work out this way and I couldn't. Now, I mean, a lot of those people might be athletes in the past. A lot of them are men, and I've learned men can kind of work out differently than women at times. But for whatever reason, I think I really just gave myself permission to not just do what everybody else is doing and to fight against that, but really to figure out what worked for myself.
If I had to guess, the fight against Orange Theory had probably more to do with fear of I'm going to
Mhm.
gain weight or I'm not going
Yeah,
to be able to sweat and burn as many calories. Like it might have been rooted more in that fear, right?
yeah,
Like what happens if I do give this up? I don't want to let this up. It's kind of like a security blanket.
Exactly. Yeah, is a security blanket, because
Mhm.
even if my weight was going up, which it was when I was like doing the most hit ever, 4 days a week, I could still anchor on the fact, well, I'm working out. So I'm doing
Mhm.
something right, you know? And it's like, well, if my weight goes up and I stop that type of working out, then what do I have to like remind myself that I'm doing the right things, or that I'm, trying, or that I'm, not going to kind of go in this like weight gain spiral. But I think what replaced that was the data. I could rely on the data instead of checking these boxes, arbitrary boxes of working out. I had my spreadsheet, I had my fitness pal, I could see the inches going down, I could see what I was tracking and eating every day. And so I learned to like get more comfortable and use that as my security blanket versus something like Orange Theory.
Yeah, which gets back to what you were saying, like it was more a learning process, like
Yeah.
coaching, going through coaching because things weren't working. What you were doing was definitely not working, and you were struggling like with your mental health and the anxiety and all of that, right? Because of not working and the fear of the scale going up and reversing all the progress you've made. And so going through that learning process, right, helps you build this skill set of like, okay, this is the correct way of looking at the data. And if I can rely on my data, I can feel secure in
Mhm.
what I'm doing, is the right thing for me. It's the right path for me. It's funny, if I would have told you when we first met, probably going to have to really scale back on that Orange Theory, maybe even give it up, you probably wouldn't have like gone through this learning process.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really resistant. But
Hmm.
now it's funny because I see like friends and I see colleagues that are doing some of the crazy things that I used to do.
Yeah.
And immediately I'm like, wow, that's so disordered. Like, I can't believe that I used to do that. And of course, not getting any results, like similar to me, spinning their wheels, but
Mhm.
refusing to kind of let go of the rules.
Because they're
Well, these
scared.
right, because they're scared. Like, well, these rules are, I'm going to make them work for me, because that's what, the diet industry or the health, the wellness industry is telling me that I need to do. Versus it takes a lot of courage to kind of step back from that and be and admit like, okay, this is not working. It's not because I'm messed up or I'm bad. It's because something, I need to find the right thing for me. And health and exercise and wellness and food is not a one size fits all.
Hmm.
It doesn't work. The same things don't work for everybody.
Yeah, I've got clients who do Orange Theory and it works just fine for them. They don't
Yeah.
have like some of the same hunger and cravings and low energy like you were experiencing. Everybody's just genetically is different. And it
Hmm.
responds differently in terms of their nervous system to those type of things. So that's why you do actually have to find what works for you. And nobody likes that. Everybody's like, no, just give me the plan, and I follow the
Yeah.
plan, and I want to make sure that I'm getting there in 3 months. The process takes a little bit longer, and not everybody wants to go down that path. But you really took kind of a leap of faith of like getting over that fear and getting through, right, some of those hurdles mentally, because I think that's probably the biggest barrier for people is letting go of that stuff. But now you kind of look at, like you were saying, all the people that are around you doing these things, you're like, that used to be me, and that's not normal.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's really crazy. Yeah,
Yep.
totally wild. So you've come a long way. And you and I, we stopped our coaching, when was it? Like the fall of 2025, something like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you've just been rocking and rolling on your own ever since, right? Not doing anything crazy, just kind of the same stuff, right?
Yeah, same stuff, same habits. The walking is, sticking to the walking. I think a goal I have for myself is to up the strength training in 2026. That is a goal I have. Want to do that a little bit more frequently. It's just harder to fit that into my routine where I figured the walking, I've really figured out how to seamlessly fit that in. And it's like, I kind of don't have to think about it. I just have
Mm.
it on autopilot now, which is nice. And then the Pilates classes, I go 2 days a week. And that's in the morning. So that's easy to fit in. But I think, I mean, the key is like also taking time to like figure out, you're not, if you don't work out at all, you're not going to go from 0 to 5 days a week. Like,
Right,
you need to go from 0 to 1 day a week and get
right.
consistent with that. Like, and then, okay, well, I can fit this in my schedule. It feels like it's not like, taking away from the other things and the other priorities I have. I wonder, I feel like I'm ready to do something next. And I mean, again, with the Orange Theory thing, I think you did a good job meeting me where I was at and like, we kind of slowly pulled it away versus if you were like, you're going to need to stop Orange Theory today. I would have been like, okay, this
Yeah.
is not going to work, Meghan. Like, I am not stopping Orange Theory, but we slowly scaled it back and I could see the effects of scaling it back. And that was really motivating. But just like anything else, like with a health routine, you can't be crazy. You have to fit in what you can do and then figure out, okay, is there something else I can do? And sometimes that's enough. I mean, it's going
Yeah.
slow, I think, is the biggest thing.
I think that gets back to what you were saying earlier. Like a lot of this stuff is simpler. Like it
Mm-hmm.
is a lot simpler than the stuff, all the diets and stuff that you're doing, all the stuff probably you see your coworkers and friends doing too. You look at that stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so hard. Like the stuff you're doing is so hard. Like instead of going from 0 workouts to trying to make yourself doing something really hard, like 5 workouts that you're completely not used to doing, let's just do one for a
Yeah.
while until you're ready to take on a little more. And you'll know when you're ready. But most people don't look
Yeah.
at it that way.
And that's the thing too. I think that's a good call out is like you'll know when you're ready
Hmm.
because you'll feel and
Yep.
you have to trust that. And sometimes you might not be ready for like, I mean, it took me a full over a year to like really switch from the HIIT working out to a different type that works better for me. And I mean, it's like it's not like you're going to give it up and you're going to be ready right away. But there will be a moment if you're really working at it and you're really trying and you're really trying to change your mindset where you're going to see results with different things. And those results are going to be really motivating and it's going to help you release that security blanket, as you said. And so as I was seeing the results, and then I'd go back and test it and get the same thing, the same craving spike or the same fatigue in the afternoon. Then I go back to the other thing that you're suggesting, slowly release, slowly let go of it. But yeah, I think being patient with yourself, being patient, not knowing that this is like a life thing, like these are habits you should be building for your life and your longevity, not to do in 3 months and then be like, okay, I'm just going to go back to how I was after I lose this weight. Because
Hmm.
then guess what? You're going to gain it all back. I mean, there's no way that you're going to maintain.
Yeah.
So whatever you take on, you have to be ready to do for your whole life.
Yeah. I always say if you can't eat a certain way for the next 10 years, you shouldn't be doing it for the next 10 days. Or,
Right,
if you can't do it until you're 85 plus years old, weight's going to come back. And we don't
right,
usually look at it that way because we're not thinking rationally when we want to lose weight, kind of like you were
right.
saying earlier.
Yeah,
We never question.
you come from it from a place of desperation.
Hmm.
When really you may be uncomfortable with where you're at. And I get that because I was uncomfortable at that weight. I knew that weight was too high for me. But it's not like a life or death thing for most people. If you're in like the 20 to 50 pound losing range, like you don't need to lose weight tomorrow. Like you really need to take the steps to kind of get there and set yourself up. You may want to, but if the goal is to maintain it and to maintain the weight loss and to maintain a specific body composition, it takes a long time.
Hmm.
It takes a long time. And it's something that you have to kind of commit to, I think, for the rest of your life and think through again, what is going to work for me right now? Um, and that's enough. And that's if that's getting me closer to my goal, then that's enough.
I don't know about you, but I think the hard part is like when you're really in it and desperate to lose weight, you still think like you really have to cut out all the things that you like and you really have to be good, quote unquote, to get to where you want to be. And I think that mentality, right, really is hard for people because you're like, yeah, I know I need to commit to it. I know I need to do something reasonable. But still in your mind, reasonable means being good and cutting things out.
Yeah. Well, because you're trying to like deal with the anxiety, right? And the
Hmm.
fear of where you're at, weight wise or health wise. And it's like, I know I used to tell myself, well, I'm just going to do this for this period of time. I'm going to
Hmm.
get down to this weight and then I'll be normal and then I'll figure out a normal thing. I'll figure out maintenance, but that's down the road. I don't need to think about that right now.
Hmm.
But really what you need to, that's the wrong way, in my opinion, of thinking about it. It's really what can I maintain and sustain for the rest of my life? That's how you have to approach it. And of course, in a deficit, you're going to have moments of being uncomfortable, some hunger, will peek through. All that's normal, but you shouldn't be miserable. If you're miserable, I think you're doing it the wrong way.
It's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's probably a lot of women on here listening to you. You have come a long way from doing all those diets, doing Optavia and starving yourself and being hungry and thinking there was something wrong with you, having all that anxiety and fear. What would be some first steps or things you would tell them to start doing to help them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, my biggest piece of advice is women, it's hard to prioritize yourself, but don't wait for the perfect time. There's never going to be a perfect time to start on your health. Like a lot of us have kids. I have a career, I have kids. Everybody's busy, but you have to start now, because in 20 years, you're going to really wish that you started now. You can't go back. So just starting with what you can do now, whether it be, at breakfast, I can eat 30 grams of protein. That's something I can do tomorrow, right? That doesn't take a lot of planning or forethought. So I think that's it. I mean, starting now and starting where you're at and where is reasonable for you is really important, and something I learned.
Yeah. What about the fear? What would you say to people who are scared of gaining weight or scared of not losing weight right away?
I think it's like a process, and you kind of have to go through the process. I really didn't want to gain weight. I really did not want to eat at the maintenance level that you had put me at. I thought that was insane. But I finally decided to trust the process, commit to it, see what happened. And I think, you have to be okay with seeing fluctuations in the scale, because it's like a journey. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. You're not going to be able to be at that ideal weight within, again, it took me like 7 months, almost 8 months of a deficit to really get where I wanted to be. And you kind of kept checking in and saying, do you want to continue? How are you feeling? Like, I'm like, no, I want to continue, because I did have like a range that I wanted to be at in my mind. And I think you have to just, the desire to be healthier and to get off this yo-yo roller coaster of dieting has to be stronger than the fear. And I think you have to get to that point. And that's the point that I was at. I finally got to the point where I was so fed up by my methods. I was more fed up with my methods than I actually was with my weight.
Wow.
And that's, I think, the point you have to get it. Like, you're so fed up with the way that you are approaching life and how you're interacting in your family, and like the way I was eating and the messages I was sending to my kids, like all that kind of stuff was like weighing on me. And I was like, I cannot do this. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And if that means that I have to gain some weight to get back down to something sustainable, or follow a different process, or really change up the guidelines, I think I was ready, because again, I was just so tired of doing the same things over and over.
And you have to get to that point. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, not everybody's ready to get there. I think, I have a colleague who is loves yo-yo dieting. And I think what you said, it's like a security blanket. It is, because it's like, it kind of appeases the fear and allows you to feel like you're doing something. Right. But yeah, we were at lunch the other day, and he was trying out keto. And he's like, can you describe your lunch to me and what it tastes like? And I'm like, this is so disordered. Like, why don't you go eat?
Just eat.
Yeah, just eat. You can find out for yourself. But yeah, I think you have to get some people, again, everybody's different. It takes them a long time. I know for even myself, it took me a long time to get more fed up with my methods than I was scared, than my fear, to have that anger and frustration to outweigh the fear. And I think you have to get to that point, and you have to decide what kind of life do you want to lead, not just about your weight, but about how you interact, the type of person you want to be. Do you want to be a dieter, or do you want to be a person that's healthy?
I think a
And
lot of people don't realize that they're being a dieter or that they're
yeah,
in that kind of chronic lifestyle of dieting all the time because it's kind of masked by healthy behaviors. Well, I'm eating healthy foods. Look at all the protein I'm eating. I'm on keto with all this protein. It's healthy. Or I'm on Whole30, right? It's all whole
yeah.
foods, so it's healthy. But, or I'm doing Orange Theory a million times a week. That's a healthy thing, right? So we sort of abuse like healthy foods and exercise under this mask of, well, I'm trying to improve my health. And so I think we can sort of justify it in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can, again, it kind of calms the fear of, well, I'm doing something for my health and other people, because those things are flashy, right? Those things are flashy. They're kind of in everybody's face. Like the second you sit down at a dinner with somebody, you know exactly what diet they're on because that's the first thing they say, right? And I think, but that also goes. It's fleeting. It's very fleeting. And what actually stays, and what I'm proud of is like building a brand of, like, I think my own personal brand is now about health versus about diet. Like I have several people at work that will comment on how like dedicated I am to getting steps, or like, you always seem so healthy. You always seem like you're trying to do healthy things versus you're always on a diet. Like you're always doing these crazy things with food. Like I actually don't want to be that person. And I think a lot of people don't really want to be that person if they think about it.
Yeah.
It's a lot better to be a person with a brand of health than a brand of always dieting,
Mm-hmm.
like, and because that the health brand stays with you. It's about habits. It's about consistency. It's about longevity. You don't have to worry about that being taken away when you inevitably fail this diet, because you will, and then go back to gaining weight and then try another diet. But yeah, I mean, I think challenge yourself and think about who do I want to be? Like, do I want to be a person that's about health, or do I want to be a person that's about diets?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Such good advice. It's funny how far you've come in a year.
Yeah, I know. Like the crazy things that I see, and like I'm like, I cannot believe I did that. Or I'll see somebody doing that and be like, that is crazy. And then I'll be like, I did that like 2 years ago though.
That was me. Yeah,
That was
that's how
me.
I think too. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, those are exactly the things I used to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But it's
crazy.
freeing. I think the freedom that you get with not being sucked in. Like I know I will never get sucked. Like I just feel so confident I'll never get sucked into like a yo-yo diet. Like that type of marketing doesn't get me anymore. Like it has zero effect on me. The wellness like fads or schemes like doesn't really have an effect on me, because you get so confident in your own habits and knowing that what you're doing is the right course for you.
Yeah.
And I think that freedom and that confidence and that peace is like truly worth dealing with the fear on the onset of doing something different. Because on the other end, if you stick with it, on the other end is like confidence, peace, health. But you're going to have to go through some tough like mental processing to get there. But for me, it was definitely worth it.
Good. It's so fantastic to see because before you were really struggling mentally with your anxiety and fear of food and gaining weight, and it was hard for you in the beginning. Like by no means are we saying that this was an easy process for you, but you
Right.
did it, and it was really awesome to see like you go from there to where you are right now. So I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
You're so
Thank you.
welcome.
It was
You're
great working with you, Megan, and thank you for everything.
Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, you have to come check out my free weight loss class. It's the 5 steps to lasting weight loss, how hormones impact weight loss, and the truth about lasting weight loss without relying on willpower, workouts, or deprivation. Click the link in the show notes to watch that free class today. And if you are a woman over 35 with 20 to 50 or more pounds to lose, schedule a free weight loss breakthrough session with me after you watch that class. And let's talk about your 20 to 50 or more pound weight loss plan.